At Home with AJ. I'm glad that you could welcome the Kingsville Public Library into your home today and that you could join me in mine. Today we're going to be making a nice little outdoor garden lantern, and it's a really inexpensive project and pretty easy. What you will need, and of course, as always, the materials list will be down in the comment section. You'll need one of those lovely disposable Dollar Tree cookie sheets. You'll need some scissors, either a pencil or a pen, a solar light because we're going to light it up. You'll need a glue gun and your pattern, which will also be down in the comment section, and they will also be available on the book cart, which will either be in the vestibule or outside of the library depending on the weather. So if you're unable to print your pattern from the comment section, you can always pick one up at the library. We are open for curbside service now. And you will also need a hammer and nail so that you can hook the little design into your lantern. Again, all the materials will be listed down below in the comment section. So let's get started. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is take your printed pattern and cut it out. I actually have one that I had traced that pattern on there so that it was available to you. I actually cut mine on a Cricut. If you have a Cricut, you can cut your lantern pattern out there and you get really fancy. But we're going to keep it simple today. You're going to take your pattern and you're going to trace it onto your little aluminum disposable cookie sheet that you got 2 for $1 at the Dollar Tree. These are fabulous. And you're just going to take your writing utensil, permanent marker works well, and just kind of trace it on there. Again, once you get it traced on there, you'll want to make sure that you use the opposite side so that your marker doesn't show unless you're going to paint it like mine, and then that's fine. And then once you get it traced, we're just very simply going to take our scissors, and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to start down here in the corner and kind of trim that right like that. And I'm just going to go along the seam and cut kind of below my tracing, just so that it's easier for me to be a little more exact when I cut. I'm going to get rid of this hard edge that the pan has. So I'm just going to go around and do that on all sides. And remember to be very careful. The aluminum can be kind of sharp. You might even feel like maybe you need to wear gloves. Knock on wood, I haven't cut myself yet. Yet being a key word there. But again, I'm just going to go around and cut this edge off. And you can do this, it cuts fairly easily, so you can do this with a regular pair of, I even used just my junkie scissors when we made the little like herb envelope, little container. If you missed that one, that's another fun project for the disposable cookie sheet. Or you could use a pair of kitchen scissors. You don't need anything fancy because it's really easy to cut. And once we get the hard edge cut from all the way around, now I can go back and follow my pattern and just kind of trim things up as I need to until I get my pieces. So once you have your pieces cut out, the next thing you'll want to do is take your pattern, because we're going to score the spots that we're going to fold to make our lantern fit together. And that's what these little dotted lines on here are our score lines. So what you'll do is you will lay your pattern back over your metal pieces, and you'll take either a pencil or a pen with like a blunt tip. You don't even have to poke the pen out for the ink, and you're just going to trace those dotted lines on the paper with your metal underneath. Because what that will do will actually then make score lines inside the metal. And then when we go to fold it together, it will fold together and put together quite nicely. Okay, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this on the video or not, especially because I got the light, but you can kind of see that bumpy that line right in there. That actually will help us fold this very nicely. I don't want to fold it just quite yet, because the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put our little pattern in. As long as you can see your score line, you don't want to fold them yet. Because the problem is then you're kind of wrestling the metal, and especially don't fold your bottom because then you can cut yourself on it and it gets in the way. So we're going to wait to fold it, but we want our score lines. And the reason we want to be able to kind of see our score lines is so that when we put our pattern on to trace, that we don't get over the lines where we're going to fold. Otherwise, it's going to look all messy. So the next thing we're going to do is you're going to decide what kind of pattern you want to put on it. And of course, I have just a fun little Mickey head. And you're going to just trace your pattern onto the metal. And I have one that I did already here. So I traced my Mickey onto my metal. And then what you're going to do is, once you have your pattern traced, and remember when you're tracing, make sure that you're staying consistent with the inside where the marker is, unless you're going to paint it, and then you don't have to worry about it. And we're going to take our nail, wherever my nail may have gone to. Ah, here it is. We're going to take our nail, and I've also used a piece of foam board from the dollar store. You can use a piece of cardboard or whatever, just to protect, because the nail is going to go through your metal, so you don't want to be, you don't want to hammer on your dining room table. And we're just going to go along, and I'm going to just very carefully just kind of follow that trace line and try and kind of do a nice, even, spaced as much as I can. If you don't get it quite right, it's okay, because you'll probably be the only one that notices. And when it's hanging in your garden looking all pretty, lighted up at night, or next to your back door, you won't care either. You'd be like, oh, that's so cool. And so we're just going to go around following our pattern, tapping that nail in just very gently. You can do this with a hole punch. A hole punch will punch through this pretty easily. It just depends on your pattern and how big your hole punch is. With mine, the hole punch wouldn't quite reach all the way over to where I needed it to, and this was just easier for me to do. And again, you can, I don't know if you can see this on the video, but we now have the punched lines, and so that when we put our solar light in there, if you want to put a tea light in there, you can do that. So you can then put the designs on your other pieces so that you have a design on all four sides. You can pick different designs, but once we do that, now we are ready to start folding up. Once we have all four sides done, we'll be ready to fold it up and glue it together. So now that I have my design on all four pieces, I'm going to want to very carefully find my score lines and just fold my aluminum. So you're just going to find those score lines, and if you've scored well, you're going to be able to just fold those up. They fold up pretty easily. And if you have some problems at the corners, like I tend to do sometimes, you can just take your scissors and give it just a tiny little clip right there, and that'll help kind of fold it better. And it'll make it a little bit neater when it all has to come together, when the two pieces come together, because that's going to be the next thing you're going to do. Is once you have folded your pieces, and perhaps I'll fold the other scored piece over here. You can see I got a little off center on one of my Mickeys, but that's okay. That'll be the one that goes to the back. And just cut that little edge, and then we will be ready to glue them. Fold up that corner a little bit. There we go. Then they will be ready to be glued together. And we're just going to glue these right along these little seams. We're just going to hot glue right down there so that they fit together. And the other thing that I will tell you before you glue these together, if you look at the pattern that I have here and what I ended up with here, okay? If you're going to use a battery operated tea light that you'll put in and out and turn off and on, you can leave this like this. You'll just fold the two edges down and bring this over top, and it's lovely and cute. But if you're going to use it as a solar light, you're going to want the light to be able to get into the lantern to charge your solar light. And you can, won't take that out just yet. The light has to be able to get onto this to charge it. So you'll want to leave the sides of this open so that sunlight can get in it during the day. So what I did with mine is I went ahead, and now's a good time to do it. That's why I'm telling you this now. What I did with mine is I went ahead and I just cut off the more rounded of the two pieces. So it's this little piece right here. I went ahead and cut that off so that my light could get down into my lantern, because I really like solar lights. And I'll show you in a minute how you'll get your lantern down in there. But it's just easier to cut that piece off at this point when you're gluing, so you're not wrestling with it and then trying to cut it later. So now I'm just going to take my hot glue. I'm going to straighten out my edges just a little bit, and I'm going to take my hot glue and I'm just going to go right along this. Remember, this is aluminum. It's a type of metal. This is hot glue. It's hot. So as this glue sits on this metal, it's going to heat up. It's going to get hot. Don't burn yourself. Don't forget, try and press the seams really hard and realize that, that's hot. Which is, again, why it's good to have a marker or a pencil handy, because then you can just use it to kind of crease it together. So now I'm just going to fit my edges together, and I'm going to burn myself just like I told you not to do. I'm going to get my marker, and I'm just going to run along that seam as best I can. And we've got one seam done, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do the same thing on the other side. We'll run our glue right along that seam and then press it down. Okay, so I've got my seams pretty well glued. I'm gonna add a little bit, and you can kind of double check it, make sure. Like I said, it's always handy to kind of have a little pen or pencil that you can get down in there and kind of just press that without burning yourself. And once you get your edges glued together, you're going to just kind of put a little dot of glue in each corner where those folds come together. Never lay your glue gun on the side. That's how we ruin them. And again, you can just kind of stand it up, use that marker, just kind of push those corners down inside so that your corners are pushed down. And then we're ready to paint it if you want to. If you decide that you don't want to paint it, you want to leave it just like it is, then you only have one thing left to do, and that is to put your light in, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And again, if you have these little corners over here, you can just glue those down, or you can snip them off and you kind of trim it up. So now we're ready to talk about the light, unless you're going to paint. If you're going to paint, go paint and then come back and we'll talk about the light. So whether you left yours as is or decided to paint it, you're now ready to put a light in it. And so there's two different ways you can do this. If you decided to put a solar light in it, you've obviously cut your extra side pieces. And so you have these little pieces left over. And what you can do is actually glue these together so they're kind of sturdy, and then use them as your base. Or I took a Mountain Dew can and cut it apart, kind of measured the square on the bottom so that I have a nice square. And then my support piece for my solar light, and most solar lights actually come apart like this, so this is kind of cool. And you can pick these up at the Dollar Tree for $1. You can buy a whole pack of them at Walmart, and then they're even cheaper. They're less than $1 a piece, so you can light up the whole yard, yay! So once I have my metal base, I took a bottle cap, again, cap off of like a Mountain Dew bottle, or water bottle or whatever. If you're a healthy person, go you. I wish I were you. Glue your bottle cap to your base, And then just take your little reflective, pretty light thing and pour some hot glue, lots of hot glue, into your bottle cap, and you'll stick your base right into the puddle of hot glue in your bottle cap. And once that sets up, you can actually put your light back on so that you have this little system, and it drops right into your lantern. And then you're ready to hole punch that. It's ready to hang up, and you will have a nice little decorative lantern all set and ready to go for nice summer evenings. Thank you for welcoming the Kingsville Public Library into your home today and for joining me in mine. If you enjoyed this project, please like, comment, and share so that your friends can become our friends. If you try this, please post a picture in the comments so we can see how you did. And if you have questions or comments, you can always email us, reference@kingsvillelibrary.org. Be safe, be well, practice that good social distancing, and we'll see you real soon.